let's not be fans for a few minutes. I would suggest let's not be fans ever, but let's try not being fans for this discussion. Let's be critics, okay? Let's judge and not cheer. So put yourself in that position. Take this in. The athletic director at Notre Dame, it's funny to even mention this, but I'll do it. The athletic director at Notre Dame wrote an op-ed in the New York Times. I know. I'm sure your reaction is like mine. First of all, the term op-ed means absolutely nothing to anyone under 45, right? 45, 40. If you walk around and say, hey, did you read that op-ed? What kind of answers would you really get? I doubt that anyone under 45 would have any clue what you're talking about. So I don't think he's wrong. I don't think where he's going is wrong by any stretch. I think it's pretty thoughtful, and I think it's a pretty important moment of what he's trying to do. It's just funny and a little depressing, to be honest, but such is life. I think it's funny that he's written an op-ed in the New York Times. So it's an op-ed, first of all, which means zero to most people. And the New York Times is the devil to red parts of this country. So it's automatically, it's on deaf ears. I don't know who he thought this was going to impact outside of some nerds like me, but you got the double whammy there. The part of the country I think he's trying to talk to is the very part of the country that finds the New York Times the devil. Never read the New York Times, never even glanced at it, but it's the devil. So it's getting a lot of attention from media, or at least I think it is. I'm going to give it some attention. I'm going to give it a great deal of attention because I think it's pretty worthwhile. I think it's pretty impactful. I think it's kind of pathetic and sad that the fact that somebody tried to have a thoughtful moment is going to be completely dismissed. One, because it's thoughtful. Two, because it's in the New York Times. I think that's too bad. Because I think it says a lot. He's waving his arms and he's screaming and he's panicking, and for pretty good reason. He's getting attention. I'm giving it attention. I'll put it back on all of you. I think I can make this an interesting conversation, a thoughtful conversation. It's not going to matter. Okay? No one is going to be changed. It won't matter in the end. But the athletic director at Notre Dame, which for anybody above the age of 40, 45, 50, that means a lot. It meant a lot for a good chunk of our life. He's waving his arms to his industry. He's waving his arms to fans. He's waving his arms to media. And I think he's waving his arms to lawmakers. I don't think that can be dismissed. I think the guy is trying to say, can we please pay attention? Can we at least consider where our industry, the industry of college sports, is going? Are you not slightly concerned, everybody? That's what he's trying to do, and he's right. He's right. Oh, it'll be written off. The people that should hear it are not going to care. And everybody else is going to say, I don't know what an op-ed is, and I hate the New York Times. So he's got no chance, but I'll try to help. Will anybody listen? No. Will anything change? No and no. Too late, buddy. That's the reality. It's the reality. It's too late. You're too late. You got no chance. USC, Texas A&M, and a few others are all collectively saying, if they even bothered to read it or care, they're all saying the same thing. Too bad, Father. We're moving on, and nobody is going to stop us, and nobody is going to stop our money. Shut your face. Deal with it. That's what they're saying, if they even bothered to address it. I'm just saying to everyone else, let's circle this back a little bit. Let me dump it in your lap and say, come on. I mean, give it a thought at least. At least appreciate the history of where he's coming from. I think you should appreciate his position. I think it's a thoughtful position. I think in a world of lacking thought and intellect, and frankly, in the college sports world, any morality whatsoever, I think the dude is saying all the right things. I just don't think anyone's going to care. They're going to run him right over. So he's right in what he is saying and what he has written. He's right if rules and academics matter. He's trying to say, can we please have rules and academics matter again? That's what he's trying to introduce. And he's right if you want to hang on to the concept of amateur sports. He's right in his criticism, his fear that do you guys care about academics at all? Do you care if anybody goes to school at all? Do you care about rules at all? Do you care about amateur sports at all? Now, people are going to laugh him off, and that's fine, but he's right for bringing it up. He's also being selfish, and he's being selfish because he wants the football and basketball factory programs. That's what I call them, and I came from one, by the way. I know it well. He wants the football and basketball factory programs. I call them Sports Inc. And in fact, I don't want to bore you with too many books, but there's a very good book written called College Sports Inc., which predicted all of this stuff. So he wants the football factories that we all know. He wants the basketball factories that we all know that are playing, right now. He wants them to rein themselves in on money and academics. And he makes a compelling argument. I just want to say he's right. He's right. He wants them to rein themselves in. He wants all of them to get together and rein themselves in on money and academics and add to that some rules. And he's not going to get any of it. Any. I mean, if you could find the image of somebody just being run over by a bus, this guy is being run over by the college football bus. But he's trying. So here's what he said, and I'll just, because nobody, right? If you ever do this today, ask somebody, hey, have you read that op-ed? And just see what they say. It might mean as much as a rotary phone. Then if you said New York Times, it'd be devil, the devil. I always wonder that people that think the Times is the devil, have you ever read anything in the Times? Or is it just the devil, Jeff? In a recent op-ed in the New York Times, Notre Dame athletic director Jack Swarbrick, what a name, discussed the future of college sports. Swarbrick started off his op-ed saying, college athletics is in a crisis. Depending on who you ask. I think the money guys don't think it's a crisis at all. Jack does. The comment from Swarbrick was made with the assumption that NIL, that's name, image, and likeness, this is giving money to college athletes in a slush fund, or giving money to female athletes who model in bikinis some cash. That's what it is, okay? That's what it is. You don't care, I know, but you need to not pretend it's about the opportunity to sell some sunglasses. That is not it at all. So it was made with the assumption that NIL continues to run wild without any rules and regulations. As a result, it's up to the NCAA and its member schools to establish strict policies. He writes in the op-ed, we've got to get our act together as college athletics and do the things we can do. We keep sort of implying we can't address name, image, and likeness. Of course we can. We can do it in ways requiring reporting on transactions, requiring that there be transactions. We have to take that on as opposed to looking at others to fix it for us. He's saying what many have said, myself included, you probably ought to have some guardrails and some rules. They don't care. A few of them that have all the money really don't care. The guy is waving his arms, saying the very thing that old man Nick Saban has said countless times now. We don't have any guardrails. We don't have any rules, really, and no one's going to pay attention, and it's going to run us into the ground. Now, somebody would say, well, Jeff, it hasn't happened yet. Look at this basketball tournament going on. I mean, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, it is until your school can't afford the guys that Texas gets. Not so much fun then. The NFL doesn't operate that way. Jerry Jones doesn't get to buy everybody. It wouldn't be that entertaining. So he's saying, can we rein this in? So let's go to the recent history of Notre Dame, which I think is pretty fascinating by itself. Now, all of us above the age of 40 know the old history, right? It's the most meaningful, arguably the most meaningful program you grew up with. Really? Gosh, I don't even know. I couldn't even function. Notre Dame beats Texas in the Cotton Bowl, and I couldn't even function. I mean, they used to matter a lot. It used to be the standard in college football. So they were one of the three greatest programs in the sport. But Notre Dame last won big with Lou Holtz as coach. That's when and that's what this is all about, by the way. That's what a lot of this is about. This is the guilt that Notre Dame feels. I know years later, but this is the guilt that Notre Dame feels about that time. And they probably should. And I know a lot of people go, I don't even know who Lou Holtz is. I'll make a comparison for you just so you can appreciate Lou Holtz, who I know. He's an old crabby guy. Lou Holtz was the ultimate I'll fix it and win by any means necessary guy. He was Urban Meyer before Urban Meyer. That is, you bring him in, you win. You bring him in and you win, and you get some baggage. And then he leaves. And then does it again and again and again. So you will win. And Notre Dame finally said, you know what? Just go get him. We're trying all this other stuff. We're trying this righteous approach. We're, whatever. Just go get him and we'll win. And they did. And they did. And there, of course, was baggage. And it gets ugly. Just like Urban Meyer. There's baggage and it gets ugly wherever he is. But you know this, at the end of the day, you're going to get a trophy. Absolutely. If you don't know what I'm talking about, and I would recommend this, again, to sound extra nerdy, very interesting book about those times called Under the Tarnished Dome. Holtz hated it, but it's a really interesting read. And I think a lot of where Notre Dame is now and the guilty feelings that it has now and its fear of college sports now is because of they threw the door open to Lou Holtz and they didn't like what happened. They liked winning, but in the end, it got ugly. And to their credit, they stand for more. Most schools that many of us went to, the athletic department doesn't stand for more. It doesn't stand for much at all. But at Notre Dame, they finally said, that's it. We can't. This is not okay by us. This place needs to stand for more. I mean, I don't care whatever church comments you want to make. They do try to stand for more. They do try to insert some ethics. So Notre Dame has felt guilty ever since then. They won, and they did in the end. They felt pretty ugly about it, felt pretty dirty about it. Not while they were winning. I'm sure they loved every second of it. But the mercenary coaches like Lou Holtz was Urban Meyer. He was a mercenary coach, a mercenary winner, just like Urban Meyer before Urban Meyer. So Lou Holtz, after Notre Dame, it sort of fizzles out. It ends in an ugly way with Lou Holtz. Notre Dame said, we can't act like that again. We've got to stand for more. And there was blowback on campus, which I think is kind of healthy. I wish more campuses had some blowback. But there's blowback on the campus and probably among the church. And good for them. So they tried coach after coach after coach to matter again in a more righteous way. I'm not saying they're perfect, but I'm saying compared to most of your Southern football factories, they've tried to do it in a more righteous way. They bring on Brian Kelly, and he took Notre Dame, to be honest, as far as they could probably go. But he left for the very reason the AD is now writing about. And that is, when you try to stand for more, you don't win as much. And Brian Kelly, guess what he did? He probably got frustrated. He probably thought, you know what I am? I'm a really good football coach, and I'm doing all I can with this program and its standards and its academic restrictions, and I'm taking it as far as I can. I get to the Final Four, then we get our face kicked in by these Southern programs that have no rules or no conscience whatsoever. I can't take it. Notre Dame operates on tougher standards than the football powerhouses. I'm not saying it's Harvard, but it operates on tougher standards than your average football factory. And Brian Kelly had enough. And Brian Kelly thought, I'll go get the money, and I'll go throw the door open to anybody who can play football, and we'll pay him any amount of money, and guess what? We're going to win. And he did. You know where he went, right? What do you think he did? He went to LSU because he wants to win. He wants fewer restrictions, almost no restrictions. He only wants to be judged on winning. So LSU, Alabama, Clemson, A&M, Texas, USC, and the entire South operates that win by any means necessary is the standard. And Notre Dame's AD is saying, please rein it in, and they're going to run right over him. They are not going to care. So now Notre Dame feels like it's drifting further and further away, and it is. I mean, they're pretty good. They are. I mean, they get the most out of what they have. They beat Texas. They would beat Texas a year ago. But they are drifting further and further away as a power. USC, A&M, Texas, and the rest of the South will spend whatever it takes and do whatever it takes to win on television. Notre Dame is not only going to not get sympathy and understanding from the football factories, they're not going to turn back and care. He's going to be left behind, and notice how no one is going to listen to him. There's not a conference in the country. The SEC is not going to look up and say, the guy at Notre Dame's got a point. We got to come up with some rules here. He's right. Let's get together for once and try to figure something out. No, because they're going to want to spend and go recruit anybody for any reason. To hell with academics, to hell with standards, to hell with worrying about the money. Just go find players and try to win. And they're going to get lost. Notre Dame is going to he knows it. That's why he's doing this. He wants to feel better about himself in Notre Dame, and he is trying to get someone to listen, but I think deep down he knows they're going to run off and leave us, and we're going to go 5-6 or 5-7. 5-7 now. I guess you play 12. Yeah. Those are the only choices, right? When you look at these big-time powers, the only choices in big-time college football to have a name, you play the slimy game of spending whatever it takes and accepting anybody into your school, no matter what baggage they bring, no matter what their skill set, as long as the skill set is in football, everything else is irrelevant. So Notre Dame is now on its way to being irrelevant. His op-ed was just, it's a fascinating fall when you look at the history of college football to think, man, this dude is trying to grasp onto something. And the USCs and the Texases and the A&Ms that just will throw any amount of money at anybody to win. I don't even think they're hearing him. And I don't think they care. And they're not going to care. Now, am I saying the rest of you should care? I don't think you do. I just think he's going to be right. It will be slimy story after slimy story. It'll be hard to manage program after hard to manage program. And some days, some of these guys like Saban, I don't know, Saban's not righteous, but like this guy at Notre Dame are going to look back and say, had we just tried to act like the NFL and tried to have a salary cap, had we tried to have some sort of competitive rules, had we tried to have guardrails, we wouldn't look like we do now.